Hi, folks. So today I'm going to talk about three places that we occupy in our daily lives. The first place is something that we spend most of our time in, which is home. The second is work or school. And the third, though, is something that oftentimes we don't really understand, but actually is where we have the most free choice. And those places are places that we can eat out with other people or alone, places we can shop, places we can be with others, places we can contribute to public life, and places we can play. And these are places like malls, restaurants, cafes, arcades back in the day, parks. And these destinations are opportunity structures for daily life. Having a variety of walkable destinations leads to more physical activity. Having strong public life leads to better social connection. Having good food available in your local area often leads to a healthier diet. Now, I like to focus on youth, and youth actually have about 40% of their total time in which they can choose to spend it in third places. They're one of the population groups with some of the most choice of being able to spend time in third places. And so in my work, I'm really interested in asking the question of where do youth spend their time? Is it out with their friends? Is it at home? Is it after school and programming? Or is it places that we actually don't really know much about because the nature of being a youth in America today has changed? I'm going to talk a little bit about little Susie. Imagine yourself back in 1975, and little Susie lives in South Knoxville. She can walk all the way to the ice cream store downtown by herself. She can walk over to the swimming hole or the corner store, and she lives almost within a 5-minute walk of her local elementary school. Unfortunately, little Susie decided to live in the same neighborhood as she grew up, but now little Noah, her son, can't do any of those things by walking. Little Noah has to be shuttled around by car every single day and can't even really leave his front lawn without someone calling the police on him. In 1975, America was a place where youth could walk every day and lead independent lives. In 2025, if you're under 18, it is almost criminal to be in public. And frankly, in Tennessee, there are truancy laws that make that a reality. Now, why I care so much about youth health is that the behaviors and habits that are formed during those years become the most instrumental behaviors and habits that lead to long-term health outcomes. If you choose to drink or smoke in your younger years, you will carry that through into chronic outcomes later on. And unfortunately, our youth are in a little bit of trouble. We see all the headlines, right? Spending too much time on their phones, sucked too far into the manosphere. There was one crazy medical hoax where people were talking about youth apparently are growing a little bone in the back of their neck because they're staring at their phones too long. We know what's going on here. But in my work, the traditional third places that we thought helped youth have healthier lives are no longer having the impacts that they once did. I've done a lot of work around the role of parks in people's everyday life, and particularly among youth. We've found there's very little role that they play. We also found that youth are spending less time together, both physically and digitally. They're isolated. And fast food actually remains the last hope we have of youth spending any time in a third place outside of home and school. Now, this is a huge problem because our youth are isolated. They're socially disconnected. They're inactive, leading to a whole host of physical activity-related health outcomes and chronic conditions. And they're so ingrained, I have colleagues who do a lot of work on this topic, of they don't feel they have the power to change anything about their daily life. Now, we could be blaming social media. We could blame helicopter parenting or changes in parenting styles. We could blame this concept of castle homes in America, where your home is your fortress. We could blame crime perceptions and many of the tragic incidents that have happened in America over the years. But I would counter maybe perhaps one of the causes is that our cities have radically changed in 50 years. Malls are now warehouse distribution centers, and schools frankly have a lot more in common with sensitive military installations than they do educational facilities. So what would be a potential solution to this? How do we solve this problem? And how do we build opportunity structures in daily life that people are willing to go out and lead independently and have those choices throughout the day? Well, you'd be surprised to learn that magically, it's not even related to age, it's just moving out of the house. When you go to America's campuses, you all of a sudden see youth come alive. They're allowed to make independent choices. They're allowed to walk around alone. They're allowed to engage in an environment in which they are in control. And we see this in data across countries around the world of those with a 4-year degree during that time have massive reductions in their self-reported levels of loneliness, a reduction in obesity. You all think freshman 15 is still around. I can tell you it's the opposite now. We see them often lose 15 pounds. And really, there's 3 ways we can continue to improve youth health based on the lessons of America's campuses. It's having an alternative to the car, creating vibrant and busy third places, and letting youth be youthful. There's something about America's campuses that make America think all of a sudden youth can make decisions. So what I will say as a researcher who works in this area is there's not a lot that we don't know about what needs to be done. The real challenge is the implementation. How can we convince America that America can be better, and we need to all, as various fields, make choices to help people? Thank you.